Hello guys, welcome to the Ben Pollard's little radio thing, Year in Review. I was originally planning a Best of 2013 show, where I would be playing the best songs of 2013 in one radio show, but to be honest, I wasn't really digging my idea, so I thought I'd try something a little bit different. I thought that I'd talk about the year I've had, and tell you all a few secrets that I had never told before. So let's start with January. By this point, I'd already spent a year and 4 months at the National Star College. Now, one thing they like to do with me from time to time at the college is bombard me with loads of different key workers, and it just so happened that they decided to bombard me with another one. But as with all the staff at college, they put me with someone who I usually get on with, so yeah, it was all good. Although it was obviously at the time where we all got bombarded with a lot of snow. In February, it was back to old Somersault Herbert for the annual Dinner on the Winner celebration. This year, the theme was Tex-Mex, and as usual, it was carnage. There were air hostesses, fake mustaches, latex cacti, and even a sombrero, courtesy of Mr. Nicholas Tad. However, the Monday after, a video was released by the legend by his small beans, saying he was quitting YouTube, but in the end, he came back, and he's just as brilliant as ever. By the time March came around, we were still having snow, and the chances of ever having a spring this year were looking pretty bleak. On the bright side, I've never seen such a short term at college, ever. Easter was pretty norm. PJ and Duncan had their surprise #1 single, and I was given a One Direction Easter egg, which I was pretty happy with. When April came round, it was a pretty important month for the Star College. You see, we have a bistro at the college who are taking part in a brand new ITV show called Food Glorious Food, with their flagship dish, the Star Pimm's Jelly. The team worked hard throughout the competition, but it wasn't enough, and they lost out to some Russian woman, whose name I can't remember, and a curry. In other news, April got a bit depressing, with the news that JLS, who I'll admit now I have seen in concert, was splitting up. Now we've got to May, and this is where anything that has to do with radio comes in. One of the ex-chucks at the college once suggested to me that as part of the college radio station, Allenwood Underground, we do a remake of BBC Radio 2 quiz Popmaster. Now, naturally, I thought that this would be a fun idea, and I was feeling bold about it. So one night at the radio club, I decided to give it a go, because I was certain it would be a success. How wrong was I? However, we gave it another go a couple of weeks later, and the good thing was, we had more of a success with it. Unfortunately, it soon put me in one of the biggest sagas I've ever been through. Yep, having a fan base. You see, I've been wondering whether being on the radio was giving me female attention, and to this day I'm still not sure. In June, touring season began. Me and a few of my other friends from college were on tour with the Everyman Theatre Company in Cheltenham, putting on a production of Edward Lear's The Owl and the Pussycat and the Jumblies. But we matched the two together to create stuff and nonsense. The tour was fun, but at the same time, things were starting to get a little bit stressful, and I started to go a bit loopy. With July came NSC's annual showcase. By the time that came around, I had just had enough. What's even worse is, before the event began, I was supposed to be undertaking duties with some of my classmates, which unfortunately did not go to plan at all. But the actual event itself was spotless. But there was one thing that came a few days after the showcase that was much worse. And guess what? It was my own bloody fault. Won't make this too detailed, but one night when I was in a nightclub with the college, I decided to do some experimenting. From that experiment, I learned one thing about myself. I am absolutely terrible with women. Yep, I'm like the non-cartoon version of Brock from Pokemon. So, home I went for my summer holidays after that, but little did not many other people know, I had plans. I decided to use all that I had learned in Radio Club over the past 2 years to see what it was like to work completely on your own. So, I got to work on a few radio shows over the summer, which was going great for a few weeks, but then took a bit of a nosedive towards the end of August. And how did I treat myself at the end of those radio shows? A cruise with the family. During my cruise, many things happened. I tried my first Ben & Jerry's. I fell in love with the cooked breakfast since they did them exactly like they do at Star. And in an admittedly rare adventurous drinking moment for me, I also tried my first ever cocktails. I'll tell you something though, if you're disabled and looking for someone to go on holiday, never ever go to Lisbon. Straight after the cruise, it was back to work for me at NSC. Now, there were quite a few changes this year at college, some of which I still do not agree with at all. The change that had the most effect on me personally was that Radio Club had changed days. Unfortunately, this meant that not many people turn up to the club like they used to anymore. To be honest, I felt as if I wasn't going to join Radio Club the same I used to anymore. But then I also felt that I had some redeeming to do after my summer shows took a nosedive. And that, my friends, is how Ben Pollard's little radio thing was born. It was also a month where I turned 21. On my actual 21st, a lot happened. For the first time ever, me and my family got to try the second place winning Star Pimm's jelly, and we all loved it. October was just the same as September, really, where I had more lessons about World War I, complained a lot on Facebook, and celebrated my father's birthday. November was a lot more eventful though. BPLRT was in full swing by that point. McFly and Busted announced they were performing with the greatest supergroup ever, McBusted. Sorry to anyone who went to see NKTBSB when they were on tour together. And in an unbelievable turn of events, during one lessons where we were devising our World War I play, I ended up with a fake wife, which led me to believe that maybe I wasn't so bad with women after all. And to top it all off, I wrote all my Christmas cards, handed them out, and brought all my Christmas presents all before December, which was awesome. And now we find ourselves at the end of December, so I think this leaves us a little more time to talk about Christmas. Unlike previous years, the Pollards would have had the York lot as usual, but we would be missing my mum's side, as they had just bought a new house a few months earlier, and for the first time in years, they had space. So they decided to stay put there for Christmas Day, and we decided to pop down there for a drink on the night on Christmas Eve. What I didn't know is that they were actually having a house party, so I nearly got kissed on the cheek by someone who I didn't know, but ironically was also called Sarah Pennington. To make matters worse, my cousins gave me a lot of grief about having a fake wife. Christmas Day, meanwhile, was a lot quieter without my mum's lot, but a lot of things still happened. One of my other cousins hit the sack much earlier than was hoped. I was able to help plug BPLRT in front of the extended family, and Justin Bieber announced his retirement. So guys, that was my year of review. I hope you've had as much fun listening to it as I've had recording it. There may be a few things I've forgotten, but my brain can only remember so much. Anyway, I love you and leave you all for now, and I'll see you in 2014. Lastly, thanks so much for the support with BPLRT this year, and I hope you'll be able to find it in your hearts to replicate the love next year as well. So, thank you.